Hey everybody, Ben with Spider Rack here. I am here with Dan today and with the main purpose of showing you how to assemble your Spider Rack base once it arrives. So I'm gonna flip the camera around here. So before we do that, we are gonna show you just when your Spider Rack first arrives, it's gonna come in what, Dan, 1 or 2 boxes?
1 or 2 boxes depending on which kit you order.
And so it might look something like this, might come in 2 boxes. We're not gonna go through the time right now of unboxing the arms and the base, but just to kind of give you a visual of what you can expect. And before your Spider Rack turns into an actual rack, like we have sitting here, we're gonna walk you through the steps that it takes to get there. So I guess, Dan, before we jump in, can you just kind of walk us through the parts and pieces that we can expect to see in a box when it arrives?
Yeah, you're going to get all the parts needed to make the base. This is really the only assembly that you're going to need anytime you've used it. You've got your bolts for the wheels. We have 2 locking and 3 non-locking. We got our bolts for the hinges, and we've got the nuts. We need a T25 and a 1/2 inch for all of this.
So a 1/2 inch nut driver for the bolts.
Correct.
And the star bit
For the screws for the hinges.
Perfect. So then we kind of pan over to the right here and we see the base that comes in 2 parts.
2 pieces.
What do you do from here?
You flip them around and you match them up. And you take your hinges, start with 1. They're tight, heavy duty. You put the bolt to the outside and the hole to the inside. They're kind of matched up here. You take your screws.
And these screws are specifically made
For
to
this
screw
plastic.
into this plastic.
They're a special Plastite screw. So you'd start and you do each corner. Do not tighten them all the way down, just leave them loose.
So there's a little bit of play in there. We don't have them tightened quite all the way down.
They don't
yet.
line up like you'd think they would, but they do when they pull everything tight together. And you just crisscross back and forth. Don't be afraid if you got one that's a little tighter than the others. Just snug them up. They do not need to be tight. Then you spin it around, bring it to you, and repeat that step on the other hinge.
And it should more or less be, perfect or nearly perfect. There's maybe, within a 32nd inch or so.
With
That'd
your
be
alignment.
perfectly aligned, yeah.
You're always going to have 1 extra screw in case you drop one and can't get it back.
Start with your corners again.
Yep, corner to corner. And there you have it.
Perfect. And what's next?
Next step is you're going to position your wheels. 1 locking wheel on each corner, doesn't matter which one.
Any diagonal corner.
Correct. And then 1 in the center. And then the others. Right here. And you take your bolts. You'll have 1 extra bolt, just like you would anything else.
Okay.
Just in case you drop one in a location you can't get it back. You don't want to over-tighten these either.
Say that again. Sorry, it was a little bit loud with the...
You don't want to over-tighten these either.
Yes, that is key.
Yep. You place them in here. I go around and I do all the bolts at once. You don't have to. You do 1 at a time. All right, now, just take them, grab a few nuts. If you're like me, you can only hold a few at a time in your hand. Otherwise, you will be dropping them. Change over to premature grabbing the nuts. Change over to the 1/2-inch driver. And these are a locking nut with a nylon bushing.
Let me just get that. Oh, yeah.
So they're gonna go up, the flat part up, and you just kind of hold them in there. You'll know when they're in there when it pops up. You just, there you go, see, I dropped one. You just put them in there, they'll push up the screw and self-align once you get them in there. If you can't get it in there. And you just shove them up and they pop up, that way you know they're in there. Just to let you know,
One done.
here is the notch
Yeah.
that you've got to go into. These are where they'll go. They're already preset to put the nuts in there.
So your nuts will recess right almost flush with the
Yep.
base.
Yep, just a little bit depending on how much you tighten them.
And the tightening, you just barely want, it looks like you just barely want that
Yep.
bolt to poke through the
Yep.
poke through the nut.
Don't necessarily have to, but it's just gonna barely go through. All right,
Okay, let's do the
grab a
rest.
couple more nuts.
So last
one
one,
here-
what do you suggest?
This one here is best if you get an extra pair of hands. However, you can do it on your own. Start with the top ones and maybe just give them a little thread in there. That'll help lock it in place. Otherwise, it'll want to fall backwards, obviously because of the weight. But once you got that in there, just give them a quick snug. Don't tighten them all the way down. And you just kind of push this thing out of the way from the other side. It's the same thing with all of it. You just kind of drop it down, put your arm under there. And there you go. If you got it upside down, it will not set the bolt. Yep, it's upside down. You just put it back in there, put your finger on there, and drop it in. And there it goes, ready to start stacking. You just get this part picked up, line up the wheels, it folds right up. Just drop it on the floor, wherever you want it. There's the base.
There you have it. Thanks, Dan.